Well, we made it. We made it to the last group call, the last of my show up six strategies. And I couldn't think of a better topic for us to talk about than protecting and promoting your brand. Now, I'm going to go ahead and check and make sure I got the mic settings right because, as you've probably figured out by now, I'm a stickler for these little details. And that's been a big issue for me in terms of not only my own personal brand, but professional one as well. You know, my business colors are different shades of purple. I'm wearing a purple shirt today. I've got my purple mug. I've got my purple iPhone cover. And yes, a purple iPad color cover. The cover of my book is purple. And when I was thinking about a branding color, I knew that purple was this combination between blue and red. It was the balance between the fiery passion of red and this serenity or deep understanding of things and what blue is. In my research, it also kind of struck me funny that purple is the favorite color of adolescent girls. Who knew, right? Maybe you all did. I didn't. But purple is this also kind of royal color. It is about majesty and ceremony, and but it is also a color of strength. And for me and my business and thinking about the work that I get to do, I wanted my purple to be this very calming but reassuring type color that when you looked at it, it was a sense of calm and confidence and assuredness. And the logo, it's funny, one of the things that hasn't really changed a whole lot about my business is ironically my logo. Those four different gradiated bars in my John Nerrell Coaching LLC logo were all designed about building one on top of the other, much like what we do throughout our careers and how we navigate our career transition arc and how we show up for our own personal as well as professional greatness. This topic that we're going to talk about in terms of your brand is one that oftentimes a lot of people don't think of. They don't spend the same amount of time with, or they don't even think about themselves in the context of what's really my brand. One of my favorite quotes in the book, and love them or hate them, is the quote by Jeff Bezos that leads off this chapter that says, "Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room." And we all have a brand. It's what people get to know us by, to understand us by. And it's those things that people get to experience us on some level. Now, the more that they get to work with you, the more that they get to know you, that's where your reputation comes in. Your reputation about who you are and what you do that is grounded or based in some sort of experience or evidence. Now, as you're thinking about looking for jobs or you're thinking about even researching your own company, one of the things you may have done was looked for reviews about the company either on Glassdoor, Indeed, LinkedIn, but you're trying to find some information about them. You were trying to figure out their brand. You're trying to figure out some more information about not only what they represent, but also to find out if anybody had any particular experiences with that company and what maybe you might have learned from it. I want you to take this conversation and shift it over into your own professional brand as well. This is such a mindset shift, and it is about creating this greater awareness about what you are putting out into the world and what others say about you. All five of you come from a very different place in terms of the companies you work for, the work that you do, the people whom you serve on a day to day basis. And when you think about that, what is your brand? What's the brand that people get to experience? They get to know you as, right? And so the hard part in all of this conversation is that people oftentimes jump directly into their reputation. Their reputation, remember, is it's what people have directly experienced about you. Your brand is what people know you as, right? So every time I go to do a post or I go to do a video, I try to come across as best as possible to be on brand and on message. And the last coach that I had worked with was really driving this pretty hard into my head. And we did have a little discrepancy, a difference of opinion sometimes about what was on brand or what wasn't. But the whole thing about brand for me, and this is where we did agree, was about being supportive, encouraging, knowledgeable, challenging. This whole thought of I've got you as you're navigating through this career arc or your leadership development and what this means for you to show up. I'm not the kind of coach like a Tony Robbins or a Gary Vee that's going to F bomb and get in your face and be all aggressive and everything, because that's not who I am. That's not my brand. In order for us to be on brand, we have to authentically show up as who we are in these moments. But then it can be helpful for us to get feedback about how well our brand is received. And the way that we do that is by going and talking to people whom we trust, people who have a direct knowledge of the work that we do, and asking them questions, really pointed, direct questions that are going to give us specific feedback about our brand. What do they know us as? What are they hearing about us? I worked in one job where it was so hard when I started asking for me to understand and to hear that the brand that people understood me as was too soft or too nice. And I had no problem showing up that way. I was still able to get results. I was still able to get things done. But what they were saying about me, they being executive leadership, was that they didn't believe I had the skill set or the knowledge or the ability to do the job because I was, quote unquote, too soft. That was really hard for me to take in. The thing is, when we ask and we get the feedback about our brand, we then have to decide what it is we want to do about it. Do we actively take steps to change our brand? Or do we just double down on what we're already doing and not care what they're saying about us? How well do you know your brand? Once you get that feedback, once you are so clear about it, the show up strategy here is to protect it and promote it. So I knew that my executive leaders who thought I was too soft and too nice, I made a conscious choice not to change that. I wasn't going to be some obnoxious jerk. I could use a lot different words here, but I won't. Um, because that's not who I am. That's not how I choose to lead, how I was choosing to show up. So what it meant was that either they got to see a different side of me, I would show them a different side of me in terms of how I promoted my own brand, or I decided to change. It was funny when one of them found out that I had terminated 3 people, all of a sudden they liked me a little bit more. That was kind of weird and strange in my opinion, but it was like they didn't think I had the ability to actually terminate someone. The thing is, and the thing for how I showed up when I did have to terminate people was that I always did it from the lens that if the role was reversed, I'd want the same thing done for me. And for me, I don't think that's a bad way to show up, right? That I followed the process. I followed all of the steps that we needed to take in order to put the supports in place for people. And if that was perceived as being too nice or too soft, honestly, I didn't care. Because at that point, I knew this is who I am. This is my brand. This is what I'm putting out there. And this is what I am going to protect and I am going to promote more than anything else. What is your brand? What I would invite you to do, and you'll see this in the worksheet, there's not a lot of quote unquote work in this section that we have as we kind of wrap up. This is really more of a dialogue and a conversation. You can make these next couple of weeks as challenging for you as you want, but I certainly would invite you to have a conversation with someone who knows your work and whom you could ask, what do you think my professional brand is? Because they get to hear things from other people as well. They get to hear what's being said when you are not in the room. And getting that information can be exactly what you need to help you show up in more powerful and more meaningful ways than you've ever done before. But that's why this strategy isn't easy. You have to go and have the conversations. What is the message that you are putting out into the world about who you are and what you do? And how well is that message being received by the people you work with, the people you serve, the people whom you interact with each and every day? We may not get to the status level of an Oprah or a Kim Kardashian or I'm trying to think, who is it that owns Spanx? Sarah Blakely, I think her name is. Yeah. Um, we may not get to that kind of level or notoriety, but it doesn't mean we don't have a brand. It doesn't mean we don't have a reputation that goes along with it. And it doesn't mean we should overlook protecting and promoting it. If you are currently interviewing for a job or you have recently interviewed for a job, that is all a branding conversation. That's what they are. It's a branding conversation. Once you get hired, once you get into the role, then your reputation will determine how much on brand you are. And if you're going for an internal promotion, then those two things come together because the people who are going to promote you internally more than likely have a really good idea of the work you are doing. So your reputation comes along with that. It's definitely something to think about this week. So use the questions in the worksheet to guide you a little bit this week. post in the Facebook group. I'm going to be doing that as well. We're definitely kind of winding down, and I know things are a little bit crazy for each and every one of you, but I definitely hope you are all able to make our final group call a week from Thursday, November 19th, 7 o'clock Eastern. If you didn't happen to watch the replay from the last group call, please make sure you go back and do that. There was some great stuff in there. And I mentioned to you that I will be sending you a little package that will be coming in the mail. Do not open that package, please, until our call on Thursday night. All right. Remember, how we show up matters. Make it a great day. And let's move this conversation forward about your brand. I'll talk to you later.